Emily Crawford. For over 2 decades now, I've been deep in the trenches of SEO, teaching folks just like you how to build real, lasting digital assets. And today, we're going to break down what I believe is the single most important concept for your success online, especially now. We're talking about Google's EEAT. Because in a world that's just overflowing with AI content, mastering this, well, it's not just a good idea anymore. It's your survival guide.
All right, let's just dive right in. The biggest problem we all face, and I mean all of us, is the sheer amount of noise out there. The internet is literally drowning in content. And those old strategies, just pumping out articles, chasing keywords, they're becoming less and less effective with every single passing day. I want you to just take a second and really let that number sink in. 4.6 billion every day. That's more content created in just 2 days than there are people on the entire planet. So in an environment like that, your follower count, your old SEO tricks, they just don't carry the weight they used to. The game has totally changed. So this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? This is what should be keeping every single creator and marketer up at night. How do you get noticed? How do you build a business when you're up against an infinite fire hose of information? Well, the good news is Google has actually given us the playbook. And the answer, my friends, lies in understanding and, more importantly, implementing EEAT. Now, this isn't some brand new trend that's going to fade away. This is the very set of guidelines that Google itself uses to figure out what high-quality, helpful, and trustworthy content actually looks like. It is our map through all that noise. So what on earth is EEAT? Well, it stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. But here is the most important part you need to get. This is not just about algorithms. These are the exact principles used by thousands of real people, Google's quality raters, and their feedback is what directly teaches the AI what great content really looks like. Now, let's be super clear here. Technically, there's no EEAT score inside Google's algorithm. It's not a direct signal like, say, your page speed is. Think of it more like this. When you optimize for these principles, you are aligning your content with what Google has trained its systems to reward. You're basically showing the algorithm what a winning page is supposed to look like. Okay, so the crucial part is really understanding what these 4 pillars mean in the real world. So let's break them down one by one so you can see exactly how they apply to the work you're doing. All right, let's start with the newest letter they added to the mix, experience. Google basically put this in to fight back against that flood of generic AI-generated stuff. They're asking a really simple question. Have you actually done the thing you're writing about? They want to see that you've truly walked the walk. And it makes perfect sense when you think about it, right? I mean, who would you rather learn from? The gardener who has actual dirt under their fingernails, or some person who just skimmed a book about it? Google is trying to bring that same authentic, first-hand knowledge to the top of its results. Okay, next up is expertise. Now, this goes a step beyond just doing something. This is all about your depth of knowledge and your skill. Are you a true master of your subject? This is where things like your credentials, any formal training, and a deep, obvious understanding of your topic really come into play. This comparison really makes the difference pop. Anyone can play a video game once. That's experience. But the expert, they know the strategies, they know the hidden tricks, all the little details. That's the level of mastery that Google's looking for. Now we get to authoritativeness. And this one is all about your reputation. See, it's not just about what you know, it's about whether other people in your field recognize you as a go-to source. It's less about what you say and a whole lot more about what others are saying about you. Think about it like this. You've got a doctor who writes for major publications or appears on podcasts. They are actively building visible authority. For Google, those signals, like backlinks from reputable sites, mentions in the press, or citations from other experts, are powerful forms of external validation. And finally, we arrive at trustworthiness. And I gotta tell you, this is the absolute foundation of the whole thing. It really just boils down to this. Can people believe what you say? And do they feel safe on your site? This covers everything from the accuracy of your information all the way to the technical security of your website. In fact, Google says it themselves. Trust is the most critical piece of the puzzle. If you look at their own diagrams, they put trust right at the very center, with experience, expertise, and authoritativeness holding it up. If you lose trust, nothing else matters. Your page will be considered low quality, period. Okay, so we get the theory. But you and I both know theory doesn't get you ranked. So let's get practical. Here is an actionable checklist you can start using today to improve your site's EEAT signals.
So let's just walk through this. It starts with the basics, like showing clear author information and citing your sources to back up any claims you make. Then, you've got to keep your content updated, especially for really important topics. But it goes beyond your site too. Encourage user feedback through reviews, make sure your site is secure with HTTPS, and build a consistent brand presence across different platforms. These aren't just suggestions, they're pretty much requirements for building trust today.
And let's dive a little deeper into that first point about author bios because it's so important. It's just not enough to slap a name on a blog post anymore. You need a detailed bio page that lists credentials and experience. You need to link out to professional profiles. And for those really critical topics, finance, health, showing that a certified expert has reviewed the content is a huge, huge signal of trust. All right, let's bring this all home and look to the future. Because EEAT isn't just a strategy for what's working today, it is the strategy for positioning yourself to win in this new era of conversational AI-driven search. Just look at this comparison right here. The old way was simple keywords, best running shoes. The new way is a full-on conversation. Now, to answer that complex, nuanced question on the right, Google's AI can't just find a page with the right keywords. No way. It needs to find a source that it deeply trusts, a source with proven experience, expertise, and authority on running. So here's the crucial point, the thing you have to remember. Google's AI is actively building a profile of your brand based on every signal it can find across the entire web. Every piece of content you publish, every review you get, every link you earn, it's all training that AI. Your EEAT is the data that you are feeding it. Which brings us to the final question, the one you really need to ask yourself. Are you creating content that builds a real, trustworthy brand that an AI can actually rely on? Or are you still just feeding an old algorithm that's quickly becoming obsolete? The entire future of your business really depends on your answer.